You're listening to a Mamamia podcast.
Mamamia acknowledges the traditional owners of land and waters that this podcast is recorded on. Hello and welcome to Mamamia. Oh.
And we're off to the races.
Oh, something funny happened to
It's a
us.
glitch.
That's a glitch. Let's try that again. Hello and welcome to Mamma Mia Out Loud and to our Friday show, where we just take a break from the news cycle, and holy moly, what a news cycle it has been, and we breathe out. Today is Friday, the 19th of July, and I am Holly Wainwright.
I'm Leah Freedman.
And I'm Jessie Stevens, and this week, as of Wednesday, when we just made up this competition, we're running a Christmas in July gift from us. What we want you to do is, wherever you're
Write
listening
our
to this,
social strategy. Come on, Out Louders. Try harder. I'd like it in a PowerPoint presentation or maybe designed in Canva.
Stop saying that. Someone's going to do that.
I won't hate it.
No, all you need to do is post where you're listening to Mamamia Out Loud, wherever it is. Tag Mamamia Out Loud on Instagram. We want to see. And the weirdest, most interesting place, you're going to win a prize. And that prize may or may not be signed copies of our books that are within arm's reach of us right now.
So true.
Over there. On the show today, people are paying thousands of dollars to win back their exes. We give you a cheat sheet that you can then set on fire. Plus, Mia's new passion project, a hair confession and an American horror show. It's recommendations time. And the best and worst from our week, which include a panicked call from a teenager, a smug exerciser, and Mia's latest style reinvention. But first, Jessie Stevens.
In case you missed it, an airline has made it possible for women to choose to avoid sitting next to men on flights. The Indian low-cost carrier, it's called Indigo, is the first airline to allow female travellers to see which adjacent seats have been booked by other female passengers. Men, on the other hand, will be able to see which seats are free, but not the gender. So women are able to see the gender of people around them. This comes after the airline ran a survey on how they could make women feel more comfortable while travelling. And actually, in India, this isn't entirely new. All the country's long-distance train services have women-only compartments. The same exists in Japan, in Iran. I want to know, would you choose not to sit next to a man? You can now decide whether you want to.
Would you?
Unless it was someone I knew or lived with.
Okay, so you're choosing, let's say you're going for business,
Yep.
you're going on your own,
Yep.
you get on, you go, which seat do I want to sit
Yep.
in?
Yep.
You decide to sit next to a woman instead of a man.
100%.
Why?
More legroom.
What?
Oh, okay, you're using the generalisation of men and height.
No, manspreading is a thing and arm resting, and it's not necessarily their fault. Some men have very big testicles and their legs need to be wide apart.
Some women
But
have
I-
large flaps and their
I-
legs need to be.
Well, less women, clearly, because so many men seem to have very big testicles and their legs need to be very far apart. And more power to them, but best that not infringe on my personal space.
feels discriminatory.
Holy
Holly, do you
smokes.
discriminate against men based on the size of their testicles?
No, I do not. Although, when I flew to Manchester for my dad's birthday not that long ago, on the flight over, I was in the window seat and next to me were two enormous men. And when I say enormous, I mean like muscly, enormous, like
Yeah.
bodybuilder dudes with the very involuntary man spread as described by one Mia
Enormous
Freedman.
testicles.
And it was very uncomfortable. But what I thought about this when I read it is I was like, that is really sad that has to be a thing.
I thought it was
Oh,
sad
come
too.
on.
No, because on the one hand, I get it. There are a lot of women walking around who have, in all seriousness, been the victim of some sort of sexual violence.
Yeah.
And sitting next to men can be scary. I get that. On the other hand, we are presupposing that every single man is a potential criminal, that
Hang on
they
a
could
second.
hurt
There's
us.
nothing. That's not why I said I want to do it.
No, but that's what this is about.
That's
It's
what
about
this
safety.
is about. It's about safety. Like the FBI have come out and said as well that like instances of sexual violence on planes are high, have become higher. And that's why they do it in India, to keep women safe. And that's
I
what they
didn't
want
think
to
about
know.
it like that. I thought about it more in the same way that, particularly if you're on a long flight, traveling can be vulnerable because you're asleep.
Mhm.
You know, essentially you're unconscious. Some people might be drunk. Don't
Exactly.
recommend it.
Yeah.
But my point is, I saw it more as just in the
Preference?
same way that there's a rideshare company called Sheba, where if you prefer a female rideshare driver, you can choose that.
Yeah,
So
but
to
again,
me-
that's a good thing. But the reason for it is
Is
sad.
sad.
How much would you pay to get your ex back? Look, there are plenty of people listening to this who'd be like, I would pay for them to never contact me again, please. But I learned this week that you can employ someone to help you win back your ex. And the ex-back coaching, as it's called, is big business. Now I've added this to the very long list of things to worry about because generally speaking, but not always, getting your ex back is a terrible idea. Just ask JLo. Anyway, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook are crawling with coaches who are getting millions of views telling people how to win back their exes. Here is a little grab of some of the kind of advice they're giving.
Especially for guys that are needy, they're desperate, they're looking for any reason. Oh, she's liking my Facebook posts again. Does that mean I call her and ask her on a date? Fucking no way. So they're liking your Facebook posts or even commenting on social media posts does not count as them contacting you. Do not engage in any BS conversation or nonsensical chit-chat when they contact you again. Be direct, be decisive, and go for what you want by saying this. Hey, it's great to hear from you. I'd love to see you. When are you free to get together?
I was super scared a number of months ago when Gabriel coached me to text my ex. But now I rely on Gabriel to give me little reminders and little preps as I go along the path.
And you start to dominantly focus on you and having this incredible life. The more you are doing you, the less you are doing them, the more they will feel the miss in you. And they will feel something has shifted because we are all energetically connected.
Yes.
This is the shit my mum told me at 14 when I was dumped by my first boyfriend. This is not profound.
So all these people, how do they make money? Well, as Jessie beautifully explained on Wednesday when we were explaining TikTok to Andrew Tate, social media is marketing. So these people get millions of views with their advice on these various platforms. And then people reach out and say, can you help me? And they say, funnily enough, I can. I'll give you a one-on-one coaching session for $500 here. If we want to add on text message, coaching, do my course, here's more.
Buy my book.
Yeah. And apparently, the coaches are saying that there could be no more important way to invest your money. As Coach Benny, who's one of the guys you heard there and who's one of the big deals in this space, says, think of the worst breakup you've had. Would you try to solve it for the price of a PlayStation? I think if their ex said, hey, give me a PlayStation and we'll be back together, they'd do it. So I can sleep at night just fine because I love that I'm helping people. We want to save you the money, friends. Well, most of this advice is play hard to get and work on yourself. What do we think?
I want to ask, is it ever a good idea to get back with an ex? Like, it's not. They're an ex for a reason.
I can think of a few examples in my life where there has been a small, like a breakup that lasted a very short amount of time.
Oh, shit.
Like
yours. Like
Oops,
yours.
which lasted a year.
Your husband is your ex.
You were one of the people I was thinking about
Why don't I make these videos?
Yes.
Yeah, you got your ex back.
My general position is that it's never a good idea because all the problems you've got are still there.
was
But
for
then
me.
I was like, oh, but Mia did it and it
Wait,
worked.
Mia, how'd you get your ex back?
Well, Jessie, if you do my coaching course and watch my video with my YouTube ads in it, you too could get back with your ex. The thing is, I watched and listened to none of these, but I just listened to those then.
Yeah.
And no, that's true. I didn't before. There's a difference between the advice that the men give and the women give. So the women who do this coaching, their advice is basically believe in yourself, manifest him back, and also go complete yourself, essentially. She's like, don't pine, go be great, fill up your own cup, and then you'll be more attractive to him. Whereas men is more about tricking.
Yeah,
And
trickery.
like trickery and play hard to get, do this. And I just thought that's really interesting. So I actually think that the woman's advice, which is to go work on yourself, is not bad advice.
It's not, but to be honest, a lot of the men in this space say the same thing too. They say, go exercise, make yourself desirable, date other people, and then she'll want you back, which is not exactly rocket science. But you're right, Mia, that there are some very specific strategies to be employed, and I'd love to put some of them to you, Jessie, and see what you think, because you're an expert in this.
Have you
space.
two ever got back with exes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just ex-sex or actual
No,
getting back?
actually get back together.
Got
Always a
back
bad
together
idea.
once was not a good idea. And in fact, you know what? When I did watch a few of these videos for this, a lot of them said, and this is how I got my ex back. We're not together anymore.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, they always go, but it was my choice.
That was my choice. no contact is very big, right? One of the OG guys in this space is a guy called Corey Wayne, and he did this big video, like 7 Ways to Get Your Ex Back, that's had like millions of views. And you heard a bit of him in there. He was the one who said, just because she's liking your Facebook photos. So very, very big here is no contact. He says, walk away if they dump you. This is if they dump you, right? And never contact them again for any reason. No birthday, no sorry your father died, no like happy Christmas, whatever. In order for them to miss you, they need to realize that you're serious and that you are gone and that there is a space there to be missed. Do we agree with this?
100%. It's the best advice anyone can give you. I have followed it precisely never.
Yes, it's hard to do.
It's impossible to do. I was told you need to go no contact. And I was like, no, I'm not texting
Can I ask, is this advice, like the market for these videos and courses and stuff, is it always people who were dumped, or sometimes it's the dumper?
It's almost
who's
always
regrets
people who were dumped.
It's nearly always people who were dumped, but I watched a few that were like, were you dumped because you did something stupid, like cheat? Or and they tailor it a bit. They're like, you have to make her understand that you're very sorry. Or him. But this guy would be like, you state that. He's like, you need to absolutely put your intention out there. So you're like, I want to get back together. I don't want to be friends. Being friends apparently very bad. I want to get back together. I'm very sorry for what I did. And then no contact. Like, so you state your case.
Oh, so you do say, I want to get back together.
If that's what you want. Yeah.
See, I think that this is capitalizing on literal addiction. And there's all the studies that, we've all heard about, I'm sure, about brain scans and how they can tell that it's like the dopamine centers. It's the same as drug addiction. So it's like the same as if you're an addict and someone offers you something, you'll pay any amount of money because of how desperately you want it. Like there were stages in my life where I would have given every cent to my name to get back with an ex. That money would have been $72, but
But that was a lot of money.
All of it.
So what did you do? Did you try anything?
Yeah. There's definitely been some tearful phone calls where, upon reflection, it was begging. Was begging.
Begging is on the no list. Begging is very much on the no list for both men and women in these guys. Yeah.
Weird, because there's something about selling yourself to someone who doesn't want you, which is particularly bad for the ego. Because I think that when you get dumped, I don't think you're chasing your ex. I think you're chasing your ego. Yeah. Because it has been obliterated, and you're just like, to restore some sense of myself and my self-worth, I need you back, which is not what you want. But the saddest thing I ever did, and I hadn't thought about it in more than 10 years, was I got dumped by this ex-boyfriend, and his birthday was coming up, and I was trying to do the no contact thing unsuccessfully. And I handmade him photo albums from the trip to Europe we'd taken together. So I printed out photos with like little comments like for his birthday.
Darling.
And there's no chill in that.
There's no chill. And I had uni assignments due, and like they were late because I was making the fucking saddest album of photos he didn't want to look at.
I would also say maybe that's part of your grieving process. That's the generous
Yes, but you should have made it and then set it on fire.
Yeah, no, I gave it
This
to
guy
him.
says his vision for this is no contact, no contact, no contact. Then she or he, whoever, is going to reach out to you and say, hey, thinking about you today, or how you doing, wondering how you're doing. He says at that point you engage in no bullshit chit-chat, 2 messages tops. You say, let's get together and have dinner. Like, no, don't accept any.
That's sexy, even just the way you said that.
Yeah, right. He's like, don't mess around with any what are you doing? Oh, I'm just sitting around watching TV.
I miss you.
He says this, and this is what you have to do. Make a dinner date. It's got to be evening. It's got to be at your house. You're cooking dinner together. Because the idea is we're hanging out, having fun, hooking up. He says you have to start again. So you have to treat it like a new relationship, no looking back, no credits for previous things. You're like, come round, we'll make dinner together. It'll be great. And if she's not ready to do that, you just go, oh, gotta go, really busy. Give me a call when you are. That's it. What do you think?
That's really sexy.
Yes.
I want to get back with you, and we never even broke up. If only.
Do we think this is good advice?
Oh, I do.
A lot of pressure.
It is. And there is something that happens when a relationship...
So commanding the way you just said all that. I'm like, okay.
That's what we want. Okay, I'll come round. I'll bring some fish.
I think the relationship... Yeah, there's something that happens when it deteriorates where even I have dumped someone, the relationship has ended, they've been trying to do no contact on me. I don't want them back, but I still would like their attention.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever done that? And then you
Many
kind
times.
of put your line out to be like,
Which is
hey,
mean. When
which is
someone does
mean.
that to you,
It's
'cause
really
like,
cruel.
Hey, just checking in to see if you're okay.
Are we going to be friends? I still want to be friends because I
That's
like
just
how you
to
made me feel
tug
about
on
myself.
that line to
Yes.
go, oh, I hope she's not swimming too far away. I'm just going to tug on that. I don't want to catch the fish, but I'm just going to tug on it.
It's really mean.
I mean, most of my breakups in my life have not been like a someone was dumped. It's just been a kind of collapse. Do you know what I mean? The relationship's just collapsed and somebody ultimately has to be the person to call it. But it hasn't been as clear as like, you dump, me dump. So then you're on this like roller coaster of, but we really liked each other. Maybe we could just be friends and all that. And he's like, never, ever agree to that. If friendship isn't what you want, then do not say it. Because he's like, this guy is very much, if you agree to friendship, you're going to stay in the friendship zone. Except no excuses, he says. If she says or he says, I don't want to come over and make dinner, you have to always say, I've got to run, get in touch when you change your mind, and then walk away and never look back. If they refuse to set a date twice, never ask them again.
I think that's true because what my mistake was, I just gave all of myself freely and they have untangled themselves from the relationship part. So they owe you literally nothing, but they still have your friendship. So whenever they want something from you, whenever they want the chat or to feel good or whatever,
they
you're
can fuck
still
other
there.
people.
Exactly right. So it's
Can you tell us what happened when you gave him that photo album?
Yeah. We actually did get back together for a short period of
So
time.
it worked.
I think that was a pathetic low point. I think it was actually when I tried the no contact thing, he came back, we got back together, realised that it wasn't working, and then I think I ended it. It was like being a mad person. Like what happened to my head, my sense of priority, my sense of self-worth was so in the toilet. Like I look back and I'm just horrified by some of the things I did. I mean, clearly the best thing is no contact. Go and, I don't know, learn a language
Well,
or
this
some
is what's
shit.
interesting about these coaches, right? Because now from where I am now, with all my wisdom under my belt, etc., blah, blah, you were what, 25?
Younger, like 19.
So what the hell did you know? Do you know what I mean? And that is where these people step in, right? This
And
is
say,
why these people
"Stop
are
with
making
the album."
But also this is why they're making all their money.
I had my first baby at 25.
Yeah, but like even so, you're 19, you're 20, you're 21. What do you know about relationships really and how they work and and all that stuff? So that's why everybody's talking to these people because we don't know.
I just think it's for the same reason that sometimes psychics and fortune tellers know that the most common time for people to come to them is around a breakup. And I think that heartbroken people are really easy to exploit. I'm not saying that everybody does exploit them, but as you said, Jessie, you would do anything. Like when someone breaks your heart, you would do anything to put it back together again. And you invariably think that the only way to do that is getting back together with your ex. Now, I would actually say that the best thing to do is to go to therapy to understand what just happened, to make sense of what just happened. And I think that's probably the best way to not get pulled back into something that ultimately if someone breaks up with you, they're freeing your future. I think you have to reframe it. They're freeing your future because they're saying you're not right for me or I'm not right for
We're
you.
not
or
right for each other.
I don't want to be with you. They're basically saying that. Remember when we did the live show, Jessie, and you were talking about some really bad breakups. This was a few live shows ago, but you were talking about how someone's got to know you really well, seen you naked, everything, and gone, I don't want that.
I don't want
no
it.
thanks.
I don't want it. And actually,
Which is crushing.
Yeah,
worse than that, and as someone who's experienced it, is like if you then get back with that ex who broke up with you, the torture of spending prolonged time with someone, you can see it in their eyes. They don't feel the same way about you. Maybe they're tolerating you. They don't like you anymore. Like that is more corrosive to your self-esteem.
I don't like that characterization of what breakups are because, of course, it feels like that.
Yeah.
But when you've done it the other way, right, you know, when you've broken up with someone, you rarely are disgusted by them. It's rarely like, I hate everything about you, you're awful. It just isn't right for you. And so I know it's such a cliche, we're just, this time isn't right, this isn't the right moment. But when you're on the other side of it, that's usually how you feel. You rarely are standing looking at somebody in front of you and going, bleh. You're just like,
No, I don't think that that's what Jessie was implying then, that they're going vomit. I mean, breakups are rarely, hopefully they're not cruel. I mean, sometimes people cheat and stuff. But most people don't go, I think you're disgusting. I don't want to be with you anymore.
I don't. But what I'm arguing with is not that. I'm not saying they're saying that, but that's even not what they're thinking.
No, but I think
you're telling yourself
I think what they are doing is saying, I don't want to be with you. So even in the nicest way, it's like, there's nothing more vulnerable. I've seen you naked. I've spent all this intimate time with you. I've seen you in your highs and your lows. And you know what? Not for me.
It's just
not for me.
I know, but-
Lovely, not for me.
But the point I'm making is that I don't think it's that simple. It's not that you're not for them. It's that you two aren't right for each other in that way. But anyway, it's nitpicking. I'd like to know if we think rules and games work, right? Because really, when I listened to all these, I was just like, this is like the rules from back in the day, those dating books. Like, never call him, don't chase him. It's basically play hard to get and make yourself seem like a really high valued property. Remember that person? Who, so, you work on yourself. They see you out and about. Kate Middleton did this brilliantly. Remember back in the day when she and William broke up?
Take us back.
So back in the day when they broke up, they'd been together for quite a long time. He hadn't proposed. The media were being awful to her. Waity Katie, when's he going to propose? And for a short term they broke up. And that summer, she suddenly was photographed out at all these clubs in Chelsea. She was looking gorgeous. She was wearing short skirts. She was like laughing, smiling with her friends.
She was rowing.
Yep, she was rowing. She was doing all these things that were like very, look how amazing I am. And I'm sure she was probably having a hot girl summer, but it worked brilliantly, right? Do games work? Because I hate those kind of rule things. I'm not very good at them like you, Jessie. I'm just like, if I want something, I want it, and I'm going to just call it up and do it. I'm not very good at like denying myself. But do we think that all relationships have a portion of game playing? It's just whether you're honest about it or not.
No amount of game playing changes the unfortunate reality that the other person has this little thing called free will. And that's a problem with the game as well, is that people can pull all the tricks. But if the other person doesn't want you, you can juggle and stand upside down and say all the right things.
But it comes down to why you broke up, and that some things are fixable
and some
things are not fixable. So I once read this thing called the 90-10 rule of breakups, that most people after they end a relationship, not in every case, but it will often be because the person that they were with, they like 90% of them and 10% they just couldn't stand. And so the next person that they go out with will be the 10%.
That's why affairs often fall flat. Is because you chose the 10 and you ignored the 90.
And then that's why it's a rebound, because you're really attracted to the 10% that was wrong with your ex and this person has, and then you realise that's not self-sustaining. So then you go, oh, you know what, the 90% was actually quite good, and then you go back. So I think that there are a lot of reasons.
I'm thinking of a few couples I know who are married who kind of just before the marriage or significantly into the relationship, there was a hiccup where they split. Actually, one was a weekend and the other one was months and months and months. And it was about commitment. It was about a crossroads in their relationship. And both of them are still together, decades later.
I'm a firm believer that the most important thing in relationships is timing. Like, it just is. It's not even compatibility. It's like, if you're looking to settle down, in inverted commas, you both have to want that. The classic Sex and the City line about whether your light's on or not. Timing is everything.
I had a friend who told me 2 helpful things if you're still pining over an ex. The first is that the person that you want is not the same person who you were with. It's often because the person you were with actually liked you.
Yeah.
This version of them isn't like that anymore. And the second is that you're not grieving them. You're grieving what you thought your future was going to look like, and it's not going to look like that anymore. And I thought that was very helpful. It's not about the person. It's often in the situation where I've got the ex back, I've looked at them and gone, oh, I actually don't want you anymore.
Do you know, everyone's got that vision of themselves. I assume everyone who's been dumped at their most pathetic. And for you, it's looking through the photo albums. For me, it's sitting in my car outside his apartment, counting up the level of floors to see if his light's on or not. Because he got back with his ex. I was the interim thing. He got back with his ex. And then calling a restaurant that we like to go to see if he had a booking with her.
Oh,
that's so.
And I used to do it every day.
I think I told you this story at a live show, which is a low moment in itself. I'll never forget the heartbreak of my ex who I was so crazy about. And we were pretending we were friends. This is the problem with pretending you're friends.
Yeah.
I was staying at his house and sleeping on his couch and listening to him having really hot sex with his new girlfriend through the wall. I've never been more miserable in my life.
Actually, that reminds me of being on one of my
It's all coming back.
one of my phone calls where I was doing a little bit of the begging and hearing something in the background and going, oh, you're actually with another girl right now. Right now.
Friends, you don't need a breakup coach on YouTube. You just need us and each other.
We want to hear your stories, Out Louders. Share your stories with us. Either send us a voice note, go in the Out Louders Facebook group, or leave a little message for us on Instagram.
It's not fate. His light is on, that's all. What light? Men are like cabs. When they're available, their light goes on. They wake up one day and they decide they're ready to settle down, have babies, whatever, and they turn their light on. The next woman they pick up, boom, that's the one they'll marry. It's not fate. It's dumb luck. Mamamia out loud!
It's Friday, Out Louders, so we want to help set up your weekend with our best recommendations. And I don't think I'm going to go first because mine's a little bit self-involved. Holly, what do you suggest we get stuck into over the weekend?
This is one of those recommendations I do all the time that I'm not sure is a recommendation. You know when I'm always like, you might not like it, but...
I'm bringing a good recommendation, luckily, but go, Holly.
Yeah, okay. This is for those of us who are leaning into the American Horror Show at the moment. We've been talking, obviously, about the American election on the podcast this week. We talked about it on Monday and Wednesday, so I'm not going to go on about it. But if you are finding yourself obsessed with it, there are two things which are neither of them will cheer you up, just to be really clear. Neither of them will cheer you up, but they will indulge your obsession. The first is Four Corners from Monday night, which is obviously ABC's investigative reporting show. They are doing a two-parter on what a Donald Trump presidency will look like. It's called Retribution. That gives you a little hint.
It's about Project 2025, isn't it?
It's
I
about
keep saying
Project
that, but I don't know
2025.
what it is.
It's
Top line.
This is no man's land. This is where the bad guys are.
Who are these people?
This is an invasion.
We've been called murderers, baby killers.
We've all seen the mugshot.
Black men find it relatively admirable.
Is it clear President Trump wanted you to overturn the result in Arizona?
Of course he did.
Donald Trump will go down as one of the greatest presidents in history.
If we don't win this time, America is gone.
terrifying.
So basically, Mark Willesee has spent months and got amazing access and interviews with lots of people who worked with Trump in the past administration and lots of people who want to work with him in this next one, and got all this insight into what's going on. If you're hearing the term Project 2025, I mean, go and watch Four Corners. But the top line is a group of Trumpists who are very well placed in lots and lots of different arms of the government and just outside the arms of the government in America, making their plans for what they're going to do on day one of a Trump presidency so he can hit the ground running, right? And it's called Project 2025.
It's kind of the end of democracy.
It is. It's largely about replacing civil servants who aren't sympathetic to Trump, replacing civil servants in lots of departments like the Department of Justice and judges, so that Trump will have no obstacles to what he wants to do. And what he wants to do, their priorities are reproductive rights, oil drilling, which, I mean, he talks about all the time, is just like drill, drill, drill. I'm going to drill like crazy, opening up lots of nature reserves to trash them, and immigration, mass deportation. So these three things, which, you know, maybe you think they're good. I'm not here to judge. Anyway, if you want to know more, feel more armed, and also freak yourself out a little, brilliantly reported. But if you really want to lean yourself into the freaking out, on Saturday night, Brent and I, this was terrible timing, Brent and I watched a movie that is on Apple TV now because it is relatively new, so you rent it. And I'm sure it will go to a streaming service soon. It's called Civil War, and it was written and directed, I think, by Alex Garland, who, you know, did The Beach and those kind of shows. Anyway, he's actually British.
Is that Beaches with Bette Midler?
No, darling.
The Beach with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh, I like
Pure Shores, yeah. Anyway, this movie is very dark. It did get a cinematic release. It stars Kirsten Dunst, and she's amazing in it.
Is it a newish movie?
Yeah, it's new. Oh. She plays a war photographer who has been, you know, all over the world documenting wars. She's like tough as.
Is it a period piece about the actual Civil War?
No.
Oh,
it's a dystopian vision of like next year. Right?
Oh.
So it's called Civil War, and Kirsten Dunst is a photographer. The amazing actor Wagner Moura, who played, if you watch Narcos, did you watch Narcos?
Yeah.
He played
Pablo Escobar.
He's brilliant, and he's really hot in this too. He was not so much. Anyway, he's the reporter, she's the photographer, and it's an unspecified future in America where America is basically having a civil war.
Handmaid's Tale style,
Very much.
dystopian.
And it follows
great.
Kirsten Dunst's character and Wagner Moura's character as they try and travel from New York City to the White House, where they are going to try and interview and photograph this charismatic dictator president. Oh, my God. It is very grim. It is very tense. It is very well made. Kirsten Dunst is brilliant in it. And then I woke up in the morning to the news of the assassination attempt and I was like, oh. So really good, but maybe not great if you're suffering anxiety. Mia is banned from watching it, but I'm recommending it because, hey, we might as well lean in.
I would like to recommend a hair roller.
Oh, that sounds like good times.
I'll explain. I went to the hairdresser recently, my hairdresser, who is an out louder. Her name is Elle.
I really need a haircut.
She's all our hairdresser.
Yes, she is.
She's the official hairdresser of the podcast.
She understands the assignment. And she was teaching me this thing where she said, what you should do is get a hair roller and put it in sort of the front of your hair and roll it up. And then when you take it out, it makes it look like you've got a blow dry. You know how you can sometimes feel like the front of your hair is just a bit flat and just doesn't have a lot of shape?
Now, you've got curtain bangs.
Yes.
Holly and I don't.
I don't think that matters. I think you can still do it.
So it's just for the front part of your hair.
Just the front part. I mean, people on TikTok do it with all of it, but who has the time?
How big is the roller?
I have just a medium size.
Like the size of a toilet roll? Like that kind of circumference?
Yeah, mine's probably a bit smaller than that because I just used whatever I had in my drawer and it was from Kmart. It was $4.
What do you mean whatever you had in your drawer? Who has Velcro hair rollers?
I had one from like 10 years ago that I didn't throw out.
Wow.
Anyway, so what I
Smart.
do now is get out of the shower, kind of dry off my hair, and then I put in my hair roller at the front. What's great as well is it keeps your hair out of your face when you're doing your makeup. So then I put some makeup on. I take it out last thing and it just falls and it just gives a lot more volume and it has it actually fall across your face rather than back, and it means I don't have to spend heaps of time blow drying it. It feels better for my hair.
You know what I realised the other day? I don't have a hairdryer anymore.
What?
I went looking for a hairdryer at home because Matilda needed to dry her hair and I couldn't find it.
No.
And I realised I don't have one.
Are you an animal?
How do you get your hair
I still
dry
haven't
from
recovered
wet?
from the part where you don't have a shower cap, you weirdos.
Wait, but your hair would get...
What do you mean?
How do you dry
I
it?
just wash it and I leave it to dry.
Air
Holly,
dry?
It's winter.
Yeah.
Air dry? What?
How often do you wash it? Like once
Every
a month
second
or
day.
something?
Every second day I wash my hair.
At night or in the morning?
In the morning.
But then you've got to get in the car and drive
With
or
wet
whatever.
hair and it dries.
Are you kidding me?
You've got so much hair though. How does it ever
Terrible
dry?
cold.
I get in the car with wet hair and by the time I've got to Sydney, my hair is dry.
Now we know why she's getting headaches.
Oh my goodness, Holly. This
Anyway,
What's wrong with
I
you?
realised I probably need to invest in it because the hairdryer I was looking for, I was trying to remember when I bought it and I bought it 20 years ago. I need a new hairdryer.
Mia,
I've got a spare. I'll bring it in. I'm very anxious.
This is why she's been cranky because she's got wet hair on her neck.
She's got to chill at the back of her neck.
She's got to chill. She's
Holly,
always
it's
ill.
not okay.
Look, who's got time?
I use my
But you've got a
hairdryer.
teenage daughter that lives in your house.
She also lets her hair air dry.
How about Brent? How does Brent get his hair
Doesn't have
dry?
enough hair. Anyway, let's move on. Mia, what's your recommendation?
Well,
A hairdryer in every household.
I'm going to bring it back to my favourite topic, which is me. Now, I have stopped writing on the internet. I've stopped wanting to write on the internet. I've stopped writing on the internet. But I also just don't feel really myself when I'm not writing. I don't know if you guys have that. Like we all began our careers in media as writers. There's something about writing. It's not an original thought, but I feel most of myself when I'm writing. I also now feel most of myself when I'm talking to you bitches as well. But I really miss it. So what I've started doing, I started this newsletter called Babble, based on Instababble when I just talk into my phone while
I
putting
saw
my makeup on.
a subject line. I didn't click because it was
Yep.
from you. And it said something about hairy armpits. Are you
Yes.
growing your armpits out?
You'll have to open it.
I opened it. I know what she's
Good.
talking about.
Don't tell her. Don't tell her.
The
No.
I'm not going to tell her.
She's
the only
gotta
thing
open
I'm
it.
going to say.
Increase my open rate.
Don't worry, I'm not
Very
going to.
high
No
open rate.
spoilers here.
Yeah.
But Jessie, when you read it, you'll recognise that it's a topic she's been trying to get us to talk about, and we won't talk about
okay.
it. So
So
her
she's-
newsletter
yeah.
is the
Outlanders, this is what's great because on this show we need consensus. It's annoying. And on my Babble newsletter where I do the Sexy Six, and it's the place that I write every
I
week.
love it.
Thank you.
I love it. I really
too.
like this invention of it, the Sexy Six
Yeah, I
version. I
agree.
really enjoy
There's
it.
I
no
agree.
way I voluntarily signed up to this. I don't know how I got on that
I
mailing
think
list.
I just
Every email address I
added
have,
you.
it's just Mia.
Yeah.
Mia and her hairy
You
armpits.
can't escape me. And so Out Louders, of course, hopefully you subscribe to the Out Loud newsletter, which is a different thing. But this is me writing and being silly and showing my clothes, and I'm just enjoying it so much. And I'm trying to grow it, and I'm also trying to increase my open rate. So Jessie, bloody open it. We'll put a link in the show notes and also just everywhere. We'll put links everywhere.
Oh, my goodness. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we drop new segments of Mamamia Out Loud just for Mamamia subscribers. Follow the link in the show notes to get your daily dose of Out Loud, and a big thank you to all our current subscribers.
It's time for Best and Worst. My worst is being spammed by Mia. I'll find a different worst. But this is part of the show where we share a little bit from our personal lives, highs and lows of the week. Holly, what's your worst?
Okay, my worst is controversial, so I'm going to speak in code. Because speaking of things that sometimes don't make it onto the show. So this is genuine behind-the-scenes information. Like, we'll discuss every morning, we want to talk about this, we want to talk about that. And sometimes we'll go, oh, that's a good thing to talk about, but maybe we don't know enough yet, or maybe we should wait, or maybe this, or maybe that. And weirdly, although not weirdly, because Jessie Stevens obviously has her finger on the pulse, on Monday morning, she wanted to talk about a health issue, right? And we were like, oh, we're not doctors. Oh, we don't want to spread misinformation. Let's just wait and see. The next day, the very next day, I'm sitting near Mia somewhere in the office and my phone's pinging, which is irritating. It's my teenage daughter, which is irritating. I love her, but still. Wait till Luna's old enough to text you all the time.
School holidays.
School holidays. And bless her, I understand why. And she has seen on TikTok this very health worry, right? And she is like, Mum, I've seen on TikTok that if I do this thing, I'm going to get cancer and die, right? And I'm like, babe, you're not. Well, it's all over TikTok. And I'm like, Mia told me to say this. I asked Mia what to do because as much as I take the piss out of her, she is quite good, does give quite good parenting advice.
I think maybe why don't you give Auntie Jessie a call? Could have helped if she could have.
That's also true.
We would have wound each other up.
That's also true. And then she said, why don't you tell her we don't get our health information from TikTok? So I text, we don't get our health information from TikTok.
Correct.
So then she sent me a screenshot of Google.
Yeah.
Bloody kids, they're too smart.
Kept going. And in all seriousness, this is one of the challenges, right, of having teenagers who, we were talking about it again today, and Jessie made the very good point. Oh, she's so wise this week, it annoys me, that, media used to be created for adults, and now it's created for anyone who wants it in very digestible and attractive formats. And so my daughter's getting all kinds of information from political to, wars in different parts of the world to whether or not this product is going to make her sick, all on her phone, on her own, with no one counterbalancing. And you, as parents, know you're always going, so tell me what you learned on the TikTok today, or whatever you say, whatever bullshit you're saying.
Skibbity toilet.
And they're saying skibbity toilet, exactly. And then you're saying, what does that mean? And then they always struggle to explain that because the internet doesn't really make any sense. And then you're nowhere. So anyway, my worst was that. But my best is also family related, which is, I was saying last week and the week before, I was whinging about my headaches and how I've been feeling really rubbish. I gave myself a few days off at the end of last week because I've been working to a book deadline lately. I haven't really had weekends for a while. And I gave myself just a few days to just hang out with the family, school holidays, and just fucking breathe out and enjoy it. Guess what? Feels so much better. Who knew? And we had the best family weekend. We went and hunted out dumplings, which is our favourite thing to do in the world. I made the children go on a bushwalk with me, which they didn't enjoy, but personally I did. We saw wombats. We saw wallabies. We walked the dog. We went out for dinner. It was wholesome family stuff, and I really, really enjoyed it. And so my best of the week was definitely just family hangs. And actually, I did a little Instagram highlights of recommendations for the South Coast because that's where I live and lots of people go there on holidays. And I was like, these are the cool places to go.
I'm going to be there soon, so I'm very excited
for that, my friend. Anyway, that's me.
My worst of the week. I know we're sort of news free and I'm not going to talk about the actual news, but is needing to consciously uncouple from America. Again.
You've done a shit job on this podcast.
And so not watching Civil War, you're saying.
Certainly won't be. I have found myself, long-time listeners of the show will know that I went into an absolute hyper-focus from about 2015 to about 2021. Pretty much with the inauguration of Joe Biden, I shifted my focus away from America and American politics. So for a lot of years, I co-hosted a podcast about American politics. I was that into it. I was obsessed. I would spend, like, honestly, hours every day reading things, listening to podcasts. It was my area of expertise. After that, I felt completely exhausted and drained, and I was like, okay, I'm looking away. And over the last few months, I think I'm probably a basic bitch in this regard, I've been drawn back in. And one of my closest friends, Amelia, we actually met and bonded over US politics back in 2015. We hilariously co-hosted this podcast together. For the last 4 or 5 years, we've not spoken about US politics one time, but now she independently, we both compared notes the other day, we've both deep dived in.
I can't imagine why.
Exactly, lots of people have. It's very engaging and it feels also quite existential. And I have to just keep reminding myself, this isn't my country.
Yeah, why do you think you have such an emotional attachment to it, given that it is the other side of the world?
I don't know.
There's a very good reason that we all do, and that's because everyone in the West has been conditioned by all the culture that we swim in, the soup that we swim in, that America is all of our overlord, right? So if shit's going down there, we consider that we are, as they say, if America sneezes, blah. I think we've kind of decided that American politics is world politics, and it isn't, but then it also kind of is because they're so powerful, so influential, etc.
And they're an ally, and what's happening, could have ramifications for Australia.
Ironically, also growing up in the 80s as a Gen Xer, I was obsessed with American politics when I was in primary school because Holly and I lived through, I nearly said the Civil War, the Cold War, another Cold War.
And then Clinton?
No, before the drama, I grew up very scared of nuclear war. Around the 80s, it was Reagan and I think it was Gorbachev. And I remember saying my prayers every night. And I was aware even then that it was these two old men that were in charge of the world and how we needed younger men it didn't even occur to me, it could be women, younger men to be in charge of these countries because these older men had nothing to lose. And so it's interesting. And I think that it feels again to me similar to that in that it's an existential threat because I feel like Donald Trump and Trumpism and now JD Vance and all of that is so much a symbol of the patriarchy, of holding back women, of winding back the clock on everything progressive about the world, from racism to homophobia to gender equality. I feel like it's literally taking the rights away from women. And so I think it does feel like an existential threat again, and that thing about when America sneezes, the world catches cold, as you said, but it feels like that could catch on here. We know that politically it can influence other countries. Anyway.
So you're not spiraling?
No, she's not spiraling at all.
You're worse?
My mum and I are both spiraling.
Let's get to your best so you feel better.
My best is I think I've mentioned it before, I've been in a little bit of a clothes funk lately and I've been thinking that there are two reasons for it. One is that fashion has had a big time of quiet luxury, which I've thought is really, really boring. But if you see stuff enough, like minimalist dressing, quiet luxury, I think I just wore sequins and all those bright colours so much. I just got sick of it. So that felt to me really refreshing and interesting. And I always that's what the fashion industry is based on, is that sort of whiplash of something different, something different, something different. And so I sort of did that combined with the fact that I got my colours done, discovered I was an autumn, realised that those colours really suit me, like browns and neutrals, like cream and stuff. So then I went really strongly into those colours instead of bright colours. So the combination of minimalist dressing, quiet luxury dressing, and me wearing brown, suddenly I became quite sad.
Oh.
My clothes were making me sad because my clothes bring me joy. I did an Instababble and someone said, a lovely commenter said, in a very respectful way, is it just me or since you got your colours done, is it a bit sad? I just really loved seeing you in bright colours. And I was like, so did I. And I've remembered that my fashion inspiration, my true fashion inspiration is Carrie Bradshaw. Not the ridiculous over-the-top stuff, but
I'm glad you give her credit for something.
Yeah. Carrie Bradshaw, she was so meaningful. And just the way of, mixing patterns and having fun with clothes. Carrie's nothing if not creative with clothes. And so I'm now just re-looking at my cupboard, putting away some of my brown jackets or wearing my brown jackets with a bit of a sequin, with a bit of a bright colour that might not be my colour, but that makes me happy. It might not be the most flattering colour on me, but it actually gives me joy to look at it.
I like it. Oh, and also Carrie's back soon. Have you been watching the fashion?
Of course I have.
So excited.
My worst, very cryptic, but basically I've talked about this before, but when you've got people in your life who are really struggling with their mental health and how it's a very specific type of heartbreak. And we're talking about exes. It's like you feel like you'd give all the money in the world to just like make them feel better and you can't, to just make them feel happy. But my best, I'm going to be insufferable. My best is gym chat.
So jealous.
Yeah,
There's
I
an
know.
area of my life I'm failing at the moment.
So I spoke a few months ago about how I'd gone to a chiro and my back was like really sore and hips and blah, blah, blah. And I was speaking to a few friends and they've been saying to me for years, you got to do your strength training. You got to do weight training. And I'm like, I can't see myself lifting weights. I'm not a strong person. I do my Pilates, which I've always loved, but they said, no, it will improve your back. It'll take away the pain. It's good for functionality. Anyway, so I joined this new gym and they had a thing where you sit with a personal trainer, like just a one-on-one session. Because I didn't want to get locked into seeing a personal trainer multiple times a week. I wanted one session. I wanted it to be a female. We're funny what we're talking about. I wanted it to be a female because
I only like female trainers.
No.
And also I like them to be over 30.
Sad.
Not
sad. But it's not because I'm scared of the men
It's not
ones.
because I'm scared.
I need to relate.
Sad.
Yeah. The reason I wanted a woman was because years ago I got burned by going and seeing a man who was like, you need to eat more protein. You want to look like this. You want your abs to look like this. You want your glutes to look like this. And then he'd have me with really heavy weights. And I was like, you're not understanding the assignment. I have a sore back and I would like it to be less sore. Anyway, she gave me this program. Like, she showed me how to do it all. And I've been doing it for like a month. I go 3 times a week, which is what I can commit to. And I feel bloody great. Like I walk out afterwards. I feel like it's doing wonders for my posture.
Love that.
So you don't have to see her anymore, but you feel like you go in there and you've got instructions.
I know what I'm doing because my worry was I'm going to go hurt myself.
More.
I'm going to lift something and I'm going to do it wrong.
Yeah.
But she showed me exactly how to do it and I do exactly the same things. Stretching and doing a bit of cardio, whatever I feel like, and I just feel fantastic and it's helping so much with like back pain.
So is it weight bearing stuff? Like what is it?
So it's like, for example,
Free weights.
I'll do like lunges. Or like shoulder presses. And we're not talking heavy, we're talking like 8 kilos or something.
So is it a bit the machines, like the weights machines?
Some of it's a lot of it actually isn't. A lot of it's just like getting a weight and doing a very specific. There are these muscles between your shoulder blades, which are really important for posture and keeping it, especially if you sit at a computer a lot. Like I've gone to the gym and gone, I don't need a 6-pack. I don't need a big bottom. What I need is to stand up straight and not be in pain when I'm 75.
And to feel good.
And to feel great.
And, you know, it's interesting because obviously you're not there yet, but all the mid women I know are obsessed with lifting weights now. Like, and it's not because they want, for all the reasons you just said, it's about bone strength, body strength, being able to keep moving. It's not about like, I want Michelle Obama arms or
No,
whatever.
I love feeling strong.
And 10 years ago or 15 years ago when I went and saw that male PT and ended up hurting myself, it was all men doing weights, right? And now you walk into the weight section of any gym and it's at least 50% women. And there's no men telling you how to do and you're squatting wrong and blah, blah, blah. Like you just, it feels
I'm
really
intimidated
good.
by all that.
If you haven't been to the gym for ages and you got burned, try it again because the culture has really changed and feeling amazing.
That's all we've got time for, my friends, on this week's Out Loud. See, I started badly, I've ended badly.
It's all right.
Out Loud is next week. I'll be better. I will be better. I promise I'll be able to talk and everything. But I want to thank you, Out Louders, for being with us today. Remember, as we said on Wednesday, follow us wherever you are. Follow us just in the app that's in your hand. Get it to follow, subscribe.
And then follow and also share where you've been listening. We really want to see.
Yeah, Jessie wants to know. And thank you to our brilliant team. This episode was produced by Emeline and Gazilas. There's been audio production from Leah Porges. And we'll see you all on Monday.
Bye. Shout out to any Mamamia subscribers listening. If you love the show and want to support us as well, subscribing to Mamamia is the very best way to do so. There is a link in the episode description.